Hi, and welcome to another episode of Heart Rock Cafe, where we have heartfelt conversations on the solid rock of faith with a cup of hot coffee. Today, our topic of conversation is marriage a failed institution? And to join us in this conversation today, we have Father John Abraham. He has been a priest for the past 43 years and has been teaching canon law on marriage in seminaries for over 30 years. He is also a judge in the marriage tribunal and a judicial vicar in the Archdiocese for the past 25 years. Thank you so much for joining us, Father. Also with us today are Melissa and Preetham D'Souza, who are a happily married couple. They've been married for 18 years, have 4 beautiful children together. Preetham is a lawyer and Melissa is a homemaker. And to complete our group today, we have 3 wonderful ladies, Shaila, Martha, and Maria, who are going to be bringing the youth voice to our conversation. And if you're wondering why there are no young men on our panel today, it's because we tried, but they're all too busy working, so don't blame us. But we want to assure you that we do have you in mind. Today, we're going to be discussing, is marriage a failed institution? And I think the best people to ask are our beautiful guests here. So, Shaila, do you think marriage is a failed institution?
Hey, hi. 3 years back, until I met something called as theology of the body, I used to think that marriage was a failed institution. Because there's this one friend of mine who just got married at a very young age, like around 23 or something. And she was into a relationship with this guy whom she got married to. And right after 1 year from the day they got married, they went into separation. And today they've been fighting for divorces, and they're being blessed with a beautiful child. And yet the man doesn't want to come back to her, even she's willing to reunite with him. So it always puts me into a question thinking that what does it give you back? There's nothing. There's no happiness. All that you do is you toil throughout the day. You take care of everybody. And yet someone who wants to take the responsibility just thinks that he can just walk out of the relationship and give all the burden to the women alone. I used to think in that way. But theology of the body, when I met something called this beautiful study, it changed the whole perspective, like the way I think and look how marriage is a beautiful institution and what good can come out of it. So that's my opinion.
Right, and that I think is a sentiment that's shared by a lot of youth today, because I was looking at stats that are available online, and over the past 3 years, from 2019, there has been a 26% increase in the number of youth who are not looking at marriage. The reasons are varied, but and there's also an increase in divorce rate. Of course, India apparently is doing the best in the world. There's only a 1.1% increase, but overall globally there's an increase in divorce. In urban cities, there's a 60% increase in divorce. And the reasons are varied. Actually, there are a lot of reasons that were listed out in these different websites. And they were saying that the main problems could be communication, finances, infidelity, compatibility of values. But apart from that, couples are going through emotional breakdown, unhappiness or depression, insecurity, have this innate need for independence or autonomy. And, maybe there's substance abuse, or they just don't have time for each other. So, Father John, you've been, in the tribunal in Bangalore for a really long time. What are the statistics here? What is marriage looking like in Bangalore?
Well, yes, I have been in the tribunal for around 33 years, and I have dealt with more than 1,500 cases. I have actually given annulments for almost 1,000 couples during the time that I have been a judge. And I have seen thousands of couples coming and telling their problems and explaining how they would love to separate from each other in the eyes of the church, and how they would want to start life again. And the youth having such a question as, is marriage a failed institution? I should have that question more than they, because I have seen so many marriages fail and discussed with so many couples, seen the tears of so many spouses. And then it strikes me, could marriage really be a failed institution? The first thought that comes to my mind is marriage was created by God. The Bible tells us that when man was created and woman was created, God created them in his own image and likeness. The actual words are, male and female he created them. So actually, male and female coming together is an image of God. Much later, when Jesus came to the world, he would tell us the image of God is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. All three of them in an unbreakable bond of love. So God created man as a family. He created man and woman in his own image and likeness. Can we say, therefore, God really failed? It would definitely mean that even the Trinity is a failure, or Jesus or God creating man and woman is a failure. But definitely we cannot say that, because God is a complete, total one God in three persons, and man is a total male and female together as God uniting them into one in body and mind. So where does the mistake come? The mistake we will see. God created man in his image and likeness, but man sinned. As a matter of fact, all men sinned. And God did not tell, oh, what a failure it is. I wanted them to live happily. I wanted them to live for all eternity, maybe. I wanted them to have a lovely time in the Garden of Eden. But man failed me. Woman failed me. The children of Adam and Eve failed me. Mankind failed me. And he was so, I would say, I wouldn't say angry, but God was so disappointed that he said, let me finish off all mankind. I don't want. It's a failed institution. And he wanted to finish the whole of mankind. But there was this man, Noah, and his children, who were faithful in the eyes of God. And then the Bible says that God protected them, saved them. And he put the rainbow in the sky to show that I will not destroy man again by water in any other way. I will rather redeem him, save him. So God himself did not take the creation of man and woman as a failure. He sent his son Jesus, and through him he brought about victory for us. Yes, what Shaila told is true. There are so many men and women who walk away from marriage, who don't care about children, who don't care about the other person's happiness or not, who are only selfish in their own lives. It is true. But these are individual cases. I told you in the beginning that I have seen more than 1,000 marriages being separated or annulled. But you know the other side of the story? I've seen hundreds of couples coming and asking, Father, please come for my silver jubilee, wedding silver jubilee. Please come for my marriage, golden jubilee. And I always take joy in going for them. And I always invite and encourage people to celebrate their jubilees and their wedding anniversaries, because it is a reflection, or rather it is a witness to the world. Look here, I have lived for 25 years faithfully, and I've built a family. I have so many children, and we are so united in love. I have lived for 50 long years, and we are still united in love. Well, yes. So just as there is an example of failure, there is also an example of success. So I think I would really go with Shaila as she started. No, it's not a failure. There has to be a vision of success to every family.
Right. And speaking of success, we have a couple with a very successful 18-year-long marriage. So, Melissa, why don't you tell us how you all met, and what was the process of courtship like, and how has it been being married for 18 years?
When I decided to get married, I made it known to my parents that I'm ready for marriage.
Right.
And so we were looking around,
Yeah.
in our circles, whether there is anybody, fitting the criteria. I had a
Right.
list of,
Right.
what I would want to see in my spouse.
Right.
So when we were unsuccessful there, we also registered on a few matrimonial websites.
Right.
And it so happened, we were looking at proposals, but over a period of time, I think Preetham fit my criteria quite well. And we started with exchange of emails and, basically going from, knowing about your family to knowing about, how you are as a person.
Right.
And what are your likes, what are your dislikes. And so we took it forward, though we had a little, pause in between, because it was around November when we started exchanging emails. And come December, we are so busy with Christmas celebrations and things like that. But January on, we picked up again. And from there on, I decided to take it further. We decided together to take it further. And so I flew down from where I was staying and came to visit him. And we went on a one date. And then we also involved his parents. My parents were not with me. So we involved his parents. And from there on, it progressed further. So within, probably 3-4 months of knowing each other, we decided to get married.
And it's been 18 glorious
It's
years.
been 18 years, since we are together.
That's really nice. So, right, so matrimonial sites are a good way to probably start your search for a partner. So maybe I can ask you girls, where are you looking? Have you registered in a matrimonial site? What has that experience been like?
Yeah, I've been registering myself on a couple of sites in the matrimonial sites, but then I found it like really hard to like even come across a single person who could like literally, could actually be my friend at least. So I like if I see someone who is like okay, but then I know I don't find it easy to get into a conversation. If a person comes up who's like extremely good, I have a doubt. Okay, is this really a genuine person? So I'd like literally get stuck there and find it really hard to move ahead. So I've been struggling on that.
So it's the same case with me. So I've also registered myself in many places. But there's one thing that I've noticed when it comes to a matchmaker. Practically everybody takes up the role of a matchmaker, and even your relatives, even people who are not meant to be that matchmaker. When you cross that certain age, everybody wants to be a matchmaker, right. And they just throw proposals on your face. And at one point, you're like looking at 30, 40 pictures per day, and you get into a state of panic. And that's when you start detesting this process. It's the process that we hate. It's not marriage that we hate, but the process makes us get that aversion towards marriage. So yes, that's one thing that I've been struggling with.
All right, so these are very valid concerns. So further, maybe you could guide us through how we could work through issues like this, because the youth do feel this way.
The one who had the least concern, or rather the problem, of choosing a spouse was Adam. Eve had no competition, and Adam had, nothing to tell about choosing her. But then the world has changed. In the Bible, we don't find really people having matchmakers for finding spouses. Even Abraham would send his servant back to the place where he came from, telling, get a wife for my son Isaac, and she should be from among our family people. And later on, you find Jacob also going to work outside and finding Leah and Rachel, whom he would marry. But then as time went on, the circle of people from whom you can choose to be your spouse became larger and larger. And then people would just depend upon looks. That person looks very good to me. I think I should marry this person. This person looks very nice. It's attractive to me. I wish I could marry him. But then came a very complicated world. I fall in love with someone, but he's not the right person for me. He comes from a family which is totally different from mine. I'm a Christian and probably he is of another religion. And my parents will never accept that kind of a bond. And I have to give him up because my family doesn't want it. And they try to explain to me that you cannot just do that. You cannot go around looking for someone and find someone attracted to you and marry that person. Many marriages fail and hearts break because of that. And so what happens? They leave the burden to the parents. They say, you are not looking only for looks. You're looking for families, background of the family. And you are looking for the important elements or the requirements for a happy family, because you are a happy family. You can search for that for them. And so therefore they started these matrimonial sites. People go and register and give all their details and they come back. And others go searching and then they find somebody. But even in this way of handling marriage, we find that people lie to you. They lie about their education in the marriage form. They lie about their character. They even lie about your family, your background or your family background. And unfortunately, they come to know of it after the marriage. And after the marriage comes very serious problems wherein they demand money from you for having married you. They demand other kinds of things that you cannot give them. And then finally the marriage breaks. Well, what would be the ideal way for men and women to marry, to choose partners? To be honest with you, I don't know. But it should be something wherein you come to know of that person quite well before marriage. Our Indian society doesn't allow that. It doesn't allow the girl to go around searching for a good boy. Because you choose one, you say, no, this is not good for me. And I go to another, no, this is not good. Indian society will say, no, you find one, you stick with that one. If you don't stick, that will remain as a black mark on you, a scar on you, all through your life. So, in India at the moment, it is very hard to find a good spouse for their children. Abroad, it has changed. Abroad, you can come to know of people better. And because of education, you could have even studied in your college and your wherever you are, you could have studied with that person. You know that person's character, you know that person's likes and dislikes, you know really his qualification, his talents, and you can choose a good person. Well, it is not 100% guarantee that he's going to be the best spouse for you, but at least it's quite good, a good chance to do that. So to tell you how they choose brides in marriage in India now is very difficult for me to answer, because I have seen many such efforts fail and cause misery to especially to the girl, the wife, and their whole life destroyed because of it. I hope the time will come when there will be a better way to find spouses and to find a happy married life, at least hope for a happy married life. Maybe you people can tell.
Yeah, of course, of course. I had a lot of thoughts running when you were actually speaking about choosing spouses. I can only draw from our own marriage. In fact, I have 4 children. So some of it is a bit scary for me as well, as to how they will go about discerning their life or discerning their occasion, and if they choose to enter into marriage, how they will go about this task of finding a spouse. But I can only draw from my marriage. And fortunately for us, there is an element of what they spoke about, the online dating, or no, I wouldn't call it matrimonial websites, where we were connected through a matrimonial website. And those aspects that are vague, that are difficult to really go through in the matrimonial website and choosing a spouse, yeah, that's something that we went through as well. But what really makes the difference, what really made the difference for us is the fact that both of us, to a certain degree, had an objective look as to what we are looking at in a spouse. In fact, I can't really imagine how I did it, but I believe I had 3 specific points that I had listed out which I had wanted in my spouse. and that did not have anything much to do with the social background, or for that matter, the educational background, which I believe that is fairly easy to figure out in terms of the individual when you speak to them, when you read their profile, and when you connect with them. But more importantly, to understand whether or not those objectives that I had in place are something that I could see in her. And when I realized initially, I had not, to tell you the truth, when we initially connected sometime in November, like she said, 2004, we did not really discuss the objective aspects of what we are looking at in our spouse, in each other. And so I really written off the proposal sometime in December because I was not very keen on moving ahead. And based on the fact that she was so far away, she was in Doha, Qatar, and I was in Bangalore. So, and my parents said, how is it going to be possible to work around a relationship with such a huge distance and so on? So I'd largely written it off. But it was in January that we started talking again, and I put forth what my objectives are and what I'm actually looking at in our spouse very specifically in writing, in an email. And when I got her response, I realized, yes, I think this is something that meets that objective that I'm actually looking at in our spouse. And I think that's something that she also understood, that she also recognized and realized. And I think that made the difference. It was not just about the social background, the societal background, or the welfare, well-being of the individual, and the prosperity and success of that individual that really mattered. Actually, that really did not matter at all, at least from her side, because I'm a lawyer, and generally speaking, lawyers do find it quite a challenge to find spouses. And so it was only many years after I got married that she really told me that she never really gave it a thought that I was a lawyer. And so really speaking, I don't believe the aspect of the profession, prosperity, success, or the societal background really had so much of a relevance in the choice that we were making for each other at that particular point in time. So I think from that perspective, even when you're looking at, I think if the youngsters are looking at matrimonial websites and the dating websites, if they're very clear in terms of their objective, and they're not just going on feelings, or on one hand, or if they're not just going on the aspect of societal welfare on the other hand, but are being objective as to what they're looking at in terms as regard their spouses, I believe they may do fairly well in making that choice. I think that's basically what I can draw from my life.
Sorry if I'm becoming too personal. You told me all that you were not looking. Tell us what you were looking.
Okay, that was a bit of a personal aspect. I was actually looking at, I think one of the key things that I actually said in that email was, I need a wife who would be willing to go down on her knees for me and pray for me continually. I don't remember the answer that she gave for that, but it was a fairly long one.
We need to go track down that email now.
So the other one was also about having children, and I don't really recall the third one as of now. So at least the two were quite clear as to what I was looking at.
But that's actually a really nice way, having very clear, maybe expectations, perhaps from your partner or who you are discerning, and then like talking about what exactly you're looking for, because I think a difference in expectation can cause a lot of issues. Do you feel like you had to also negotiate maybe things that you all wanted but were you're not on the same page about when you all were courting?
I see. One of the things that if I recall at that particular, I think they will align with what I think really goes down in our minds during that particular point in time. I think everything is hazy, everything is starry, everything is there's little to negotiate. I think we normally leave our parents to do the negotiation.
Right.
So I think in terms of what you're looking at something that is beautiful. You're desiring for things that are beautiful, longing for a spouse who meet your aspirations. So there's little to negotiate there other than just understanding who the other person is. At least for me, that was what it was. And I don't recall an instance where Millie also negotiated with me on other than the color of what the theme of our wedding is.
No, I would like to tell. It may not be real, but then it has a message, like a parable. There was a guy who came to a priest, and a girl who came to the priest and said, "Father, I want to marry such and such a person." Father said, "Oh, very good. What do you know about him?" She said, "He has a very good salary." The priest put one big zero on the paper. He's very good looking father. He put another zero. He comes from a good family, father. He put another zero. He loves me, father. He put another zero. He belongs to my same caste and whatever creed that you have. Priest put another zero. There were only 6 zeros there. And the priest was still expecting her to say something more. She looked at the priest and said, Father, he's a man of faith, a man of prayer. Father put a 1 by the side and said, he's $1 million worth.
Oh, wow.
You can have all the other qualities and you'll still be a 0. So when Preetham said, I was looking for one who will be willing to go on her knees and pray for me, I said, he got the one. Lots of things he would have looked in her. But the first one he said I was looking is a person who has faith. A person who's strong in their faith to God. To have faith in Jesus, that he will guide me through life. And that is why I tell people in their wedding sermon, I say, you may have all the things that you want in life. You will still be a 0 if you do not believe in the God who chose you to be together. The same God will only keep you together. So turn to him in all your troubles. You will definitely have a happy married life. So that is a little addition to what you were saying or what was running in my mind. So let us ask the girls what they think about whom they want.
I have a question for whatever you guys said right now, because recently as all of us are preparing for the marriage, right, one was seated over here, I was hinted by a friend of mine who said that never get married to a man whose salary is lesser than you. So Father being a judge in the tribunal, Father, do you see divorces being quoted because of this being one of the reasons where people come up for divorces and say, because sometimes that's a little scary, because though you don't want to think through that point when you're looking for a man in your life, but still you end up, because neither convincing your parents becomes very difficult to say that it's okay, it's fine, we can handle it, but still convincing becomes very difficult. And that becomes one of the biggest burden when we think through, even we'll have to get through the marriage and agree for the pointers.
Your doubt is a real valid one. I have seen people who not only want the girl to be earning less than them, they don't want her working at all. You should stop working. They don't tell that before the marriage, but they tell that after the marriage. And then they make it so difficult for the girl to choose between a well-employed, settled, qualified, and what they worked for all through from childhood, to get a good education and then get properly employed, to challenge that with a man whom I don't even know much about. And they say, if I give up this job, I cannot get another job like this. If I give up this job, can I have the guarantee that this man will surely take care of me? He'll give me 3 children maybe, and he walks away, and I don't have a good job. Where am I going to go? Your question is very valid, and I hear this many, many times in the tribunal. The second point, you said the wife earning less than the husband. In my experience with talking to spouses with this problem, very often it causes a complex in the man. And it becomes a complex for him because when they want something, he must ask her for it. He doesn't have the money to buy it. He tells, will you be pleased? So it feels like he has to humiliate himself every time he wants to get something that his heart desires. And it's not always that the woman says, yes, we'll buy that. She said, no, I don't want that. I don't think we need to spend money on that. Then he becomes depressed. For all things, I must go to my wife, at least for the big things that I want to buy. I want to buy a house. He says his salary will never get him any kind of advance or money to pay for it. He'll have to ask the woman only to do it. So a complex arises in the man, which very often goes into their relationship and ultimately it breaks. It is true, unfortunate but true, that if the girl is earning much, see, if, I'm not telling you he earns 20,000, she earns 21,000. No. I mean, if he earns 20,000 and she's earning 60,000 a month, it's very soon going to go on the rocks. I always tell parents, please check how much they earn. Secondly, I tell them how much they have studied. If the man has studied till the 10th standard and the girl is an MCom, they will never get along together. Her reasoning, her result of a discussion will always be right. This boy will never find it acceptable to him. So even in education, if there's a lot of difference, it doesn't work out at all. Age. If the person is more than 10 years, is almost 10 years difference in age, within a matter of 20 years, they will call the girl as his daughter, his wife as his daughter. No man, is my wife. How come you got such a young wife? Because she's only so much. So when you're getting married, when people are getting married, I'm sure Preetham and Melissa thought about it. Don't just go ahead with marriage. Check and see whether their educational qualifications are somewhat similar. A little highly educated girl doesn't matter because it doesn't affect everything almost. But if there's a lot of difference in education, if there's a lot of difference between salaries, if there's a lot of difference between age, it's better not to marry. It's better that you keep somewhat similar. And society, the church also recommends that the girl be about 2 years younger than the boy. Even the legal age for marriage, both in the civil law and in the church law, is about 2 years more for the boy than the girl. Because in our society and all over the world, many of the decisions of the family have to be made by one person. It could be the man or the woman, but society wants the man to do it. So it's better that he has a little more maturity of mind, of heart in life, that he's got a little more intelligence and he's more qualified to be able to run the family. It's not that he must do everything and she doesn't do anything, but a little more. But the best is both of them can discuss together, they can decide together and go on together.
I just wanted to ask Melissa her experience, like when she had to live a job that she was working for all the while and all her career and everything, and came down to Preetham, right, the man of her life. How easy was it?
What kind of negotiations could go down, right, when you're looking for a person? And for somebody who's young and looking for a partner, sometimes it's a really simple reason where things can fall apart. So if it's so simple for things to fall apart, then why should we, as youth, even consider marriage?
The reasons why marriages are breaking down, that lack of maturity comes from a young age. When people who are young get married, the maturity is very less, is very low.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode. We're going to be taking a short break, but we'll be right back in another episode of Heart Rock Cafe, where we talk about whether or not marriage is a failed institution. Stay tuned, guys.